I rise to speak on the important choice that South Australian voters will face in the new year. And, Madam President, voters of course face two choices, not just a decision about who should form government in the House of Assembly, but also a decision around the make-up of this chamber and who should hold the balance of power here in this place. And the Greens have a bold and ambitious plan to transform South Australia for the better, and if we increase our numbers in the Legislative Council, if we hold the balance of power in our own right, we will be doing what we can to ensure that we deal with the climate crisis and growing inequality here in our state. By making developers, mining corporations and big banks Madam Acting President, pay their fair share of tax, we can finally tackle the climate crisis and economic inequality here in South Australia and create a better life for all South Australians. We know that COVID-19 has exposed growing inequality here in South Australia. Well, how can it be that we have people literally sleeping on the street, of our state, while big banks, mining corporations and developers continue to make huge profits? Something has got to change, and the Greens have announced a fully costed plan to change things for the better. The first element of that is a range of new revenue measures, and we would propose to raise almost $7 billion of new revenue that we could invest in vital public services. We need to start charging fair royalties for mining corporations. Madam Acting President, South Australia has been robbed of its mineral wealth over the last few years. In fact, over the last 4 years, mining corporations have made over $25 billion in South Australia alone and paid only 5% in royalties. That isn't fair, and that's why the Greens want to increase the royalties paid by these corporations, and that would raise an extra $3.8 billion over 4 years. We also need to take the big banks to task. They're some of the most profitable in the world, and over the last 4 years, the 5 biggest banks have made $173 billion in pre-tax profits. That's a huge amount of money, and it's for that reason that the Greens want to bring back the state-based big bank levy. That's a rate that's set at 0.5% per quarter and would apply to South Australia's share of banks' total liabilities. And it would be passed on to the 5 big banks. And finally, we want to propose a 75% developer tax on rezoning. At the moment, when land is rezoned for a high use, property developers make massive windfall profits, but they don't pay anything for the privilege. And this is a massive giveaway of public wealth into private hands. We're concerned that this current system encourages corruption and backroom deals. It makes property speculation worse, and it pushes up prices. And so we'd bring in a developer tax that would raise $1.7 billion over 4 years. And so what would we do, Madam Acting President, with the money that is raised from these new measures? Well, we'd provide free, publicly owned public transport for South Australians at a cost of $433 million over 4 years, and would invest $1 billion to upgrade South Australia's public transport network. We'd bring back the Housing Trust, building 40,000 new quality public homes over 4 years, or 10,000 homes a year. That would slash the public housing waiting list. And in doing so, we'd create 10,000 good construction jobs a year. We'd also provide for publicly owned renewable electricity. We'd bring back ETSA, and we'd invest $8.7 billion over 4 years for publicly owned renewable energy and storage, and this plan would create more than 9,000 jobs a year. We'd also set aside $2 billion of the investment to provide free solar and storage for 200,000 renters, social housing and low-income households. These are important measures, Madam Acting President, and they're things that we could do if we ensure that the big end of town finally paid their fair share, and the Greens are committed to doing that here in this place.
Call on the Honourable Mr. No.